about ascension. This is going to be what this means, because in my day-to-day, I am an ascended person. I'm ascending as we speak. There are those of us, those souls on this planet, that are ascending now. What this means is that we are basically elevating out of an old social system, government system, banking system, health system that has, and I would say just overall, just decrepitness of a financial system that is given to the billionaires so that they can try to overrun the populace. Now, you might think like, oh, here she goes on her rant with her tinfoil hat. If I had one, I'd wear one right now. But what Ascension is giving us is the opportunity to shake us up as a soul, because we are souls. We are infinite, okay? This is not the end. I am somebody who has been on an ascended journey back since like 2010. I kicked off for a bit. I'm back on again. And what I'm going to say is that there was a shakeup around 2010. There was a shakeup around 2020, as per COVID showed us. And a lot of us came on board. A lot of us started saying, hey, you know, the system that we've bought into for most of our life isn't really doing us right, isn't really doing us well. The story we were told was, hey, come into utero, basically go to school, learn to be disciplined soldiers so that we can go into a slavery system, so that we can work till we're old and gray, and then we get to that old and gray stage and we're given the freedom when our bodies are decrepit and our failing health systems around the world are allowing us to be free enough to go spend the money that we've already worked so hard for, that gets taxed again when we try to take it out. And then we get to live these last parts of our life either with heart issues, cardiovascular issues in general, or we have diabetes, or we have cancer, and we don't even make it to that golden age. So what's really happening is that persons are waking up to the idea that, hey, maybe COVID was more of biological warfare than it was to protect us. Here's a fun fact. I hope you guys know that more persons die around the world from alcoholism than they did from COVID. And if you are somebody who lost someone to COVID, I am so sad and upset for you, because a lot of this didn't need to happen. Now, what also took place was that as we were hermited, as we were put in these positions where we had to be away from people, a lot of us changed cellularly and also emotionally. Well, a lot of us had a lot of trauma that took place during this time, and a lot of us had to be by ourselves and realize what's really, truly important. And then as this was all happening in this shakeup, we started seeing huge changes within the government systems that we were afforded or told were there to protect us in the first place, especially with things like, you know, this online, you know, social media that has developed within the last 10 years. 10 years ago or 12 years ago when I first kicked on, you know, we didn't have this. You know, I was sitting with my tinfoil hat all by myself, and there weren't many out there that, you know, understood that there's more to this life than just what is presented. Maybe this is a hologram. Finally, quantum physics is catching up to this. Maybe there's a bunch of different dimensional selves. The higher self is not just, you know, one entity, it's part of an oversoul, and maybe there's different avatars playing in different parts of different games. And this three-dimensional self that is now opening up, we are the 3D human existence here, and we are participating in what we would call a soul evolution, or an ascended time where all of us are getting afforded the chance to move into a higher consciousness. And what that means is that we're going to be breaking down the system that was probably put in place during the, you know, industrial revolution and made us into these, you know, slaves to work in a system that was designed by the elitist rich. There are certain families that put these things in place, and then as time rolled out, because of free markets, etc., so did billionaires take part in this. Now, what is truly taking place, if you guys haven't realized, is that as souls, we're realizing something is wrong, that the lie and the story we were taught and told isn't really panning out, isn't really working. Most of us, at least in my age group, maybe a little younger, 30s, 20s, we're like, why are we going to go to school, spend like 40,000, 60,000, so that we come out of school, we can't even find a job, can't even buy a house because the markets are so high to buy a house, and all of these little liberties that we were sold and told aren't even plausible or possible. How many of us are somewhat on the brink of homelessness? How many of us are working to stay homeless? How many of us can't even afford our rent, can't even afford the food we want to buy, can't even afford most of what we want in this life, yet we work the 9 to 5, yet we work our asses off to get what we want and need, or think we could have in this world, but really and truly the system that we are presented doesn't really afford us that. However, what is truly taking place is things like the breakdown of these systems. We're noticing that because of social media, that a lot of lies that have been spun out to us for most of our existence are coming to pass and are coming to be seen and brought to light, which is great. But what is also helping at this time is that cellularly and soulfully and genetically we are activating, and what that means is that the Schumann resonance alongside with the the solar flares, etc., are activating sort of dormant DNA that was always within our makeup. And what's also taking place, which people may not know, is that those chemtrails are not only just designed to, pollute us, but also at the same time to block out the sun. Why is it that when we're ascending, the sun is being blocked out by chemtrails? And if you aren't familiar with what they are putting in those chemtrails, there is this, I believe it's called graphite. I'm not a scientist, but what I have seen is that there are many scientists that have actually tested what's in these chemtrails, and what it is like a malleable metal that when certain frequencies touch this metal or interact with this metal, be it magnetism, Wi-Fi, 5G, etc., it activates the malleableness of this metal. So we are ingesting this in our day-to-day. Not only are we ingesting fluoride, which is also calcifying the pineal gland, we're also using deodorant, which also calcifies our pineal gland. Not to mention that the food that we're ingesting not only has chemicals or colors that are carcinogenic, we also have to realize that since COVID, that most of the crappy foods that are going to kill us, that are going to give us the diabetes and the heart disease, etc., are the things that haven't changed in price. But the things that are going to save us, like our collard greens, our green leafy vegetables, or our fruits, have tripled or quadrupled in the last years. And isn't that funny that all the things that could keep us health savvy and health adjacent are more astronomically expensive at this time? I wonder why. And then at the same time, it's like we have technology such as light and sound that have been known for, let's say, since the ancient times to help heal, or even in terms of cancer, they're realizing that some of this is parasitic. It's not even what they have told us alongside of the fact that these are mutated cells. Perhaps, yes, they are mutated cells, but there are ways to speak to these mutated cells so that they can formulate into healthy cells.
These are two anti-pathogens used to treat parasitic infections and other similar types of conditions. They are used quite often all over the world to treat cancer.
And it's in the forms of, let's say, three infrared light, or it's in the way of cymatics, or it's in the way of actually just purifying oneself body of the antigens and or pathogens that have been interjected into our system from all of the things I have just mentioned. So they're finding that even things like dog dewormer, which is a parasitic medicine that we give to our horses and to our dogs, has been seen to be helping with things like cancer. But this is in the mainstream. Why? Because in healthcare, what they want us to do is A, to stay sick, to continuously be sick, to need the pharmaceutical companies, and then also at the same time to depend on us getting cut up and formulating surgeries all the time, because it's this wash and repeat cycle. We'll make you sick, and then you'll end up depending on us so that you end up spending more money and ending up in a less healthy way. This is not rocket science. This is just simple mathematics. You keep people sick, they will return. You give people the capabilities of being healthy, and they won't return. So why is it that things like, for example, like food, which is the nourishment of our bodies, is being tampered with? Why is it that we're kind of propagated not to believe in growing our own food, or it's actually illegal in some cities like my own, where we can't have our own chickens and our own livestock, or even when it comes to food, we're not even allowed to grow certain things? Why is this? Why is it that we have such a homeless epidemic around the world, but we're not allowed to grow apple trees or fruit trees of any kind, because that would feed people? These are things that we need to take stock of what we are really being faced with in this existence. Because what's happening is that even with things like seeds, there's companies like conglomerates like Monsanto that want to formulate a non reproducing seed. And I'm not using the exact terms, but what I'm saying is that they want to, kind of market and patent seeds to the point that we cannot get self-propagating seeds, so that we won't be able to feed ourselves, provided that if we own a farm. This is happening even in Australia, where they're forcing Australians to put things like Roundup and pesticides so that they can kill certain germs and microbes that would help propagate a new crop to grow the following year and the following year after that. If you haven't seen this is very interesting, because they're actually invading. And what I mean that there's police systems within Australia that have been actually breaking certain laws so that they can go over and just terrorize landowners and force them into irrigating their land with pesticides. And even these people, this is their land, and they don't have warrants. They just show up with a whole truckload of these people, and they just force this upon people. And then at the same time, we're looking at our own government systems. And let's be frank, if you're on the western side of the world, people like Trump, for example, everyone can't stand the guy, but this guy is a mover and a shaker. Why? Because he's going to force people to stand up for their rights.
How much more fucking cruelty are we supposed to watch? 4 U.S. citizen children, 4 have been deported. One of them is battling fucking metastatic cancer, and they've ripped this child away from their doctor, from their treatment, from their chance at survival. For what? For their fucking xenophobic agenda? And that's not all. A fucking judge! A judge was arrested. No trial, no proof, just because they supposedly helped an immigrant escape ICE? What the actual fuck is that?
Stand up for their rights. He's going to force people to fight for their First Amendment rights. He's going to force people to fight for their Constitution, because you guys are American, and Americans are the biggest freedom fighters I've ever seen. So I give up props to all of you out there that are fighting for your causes. I'm here in Canada, and to pretend that our own government isn't kind of doing something messed up too when it comes to this idea of socialism. If we don't think that the liberals are kind of giving us, force feeding us and handing us kind of all these benefits in the sense of like, oh, we're doing right by the people, but at the same time making us kind of put our hands out and say, oh, please help us, which kind of takes away our own personal power in one sense. And then we have the conservatives on the other side that are like, oh, we'll just take away all of your resources so that you can't even, do what you want to do with the money that you work for. So realistically, it doesn't matter what side of the world you're on. Europe's fighting for things. We're fighting for things in the Western world. South America's fighting for things. They're trying to fight to keep certain resources alive and saved and not go to war with certain larger empires at this time. But then also at the same time too, what we're not even looking at is AI. Now, a lot of you might be like, oh my God, ChatGPT is telling me all about the universe, and that's totally cool. But you want to know what the real reality is about AI is that it doesn't eat, it doesn't sleep, and it actually creates itself and also intensifies in its growth and its capabilities to the nth second of degree. And what happens is that we are already struggling with the current electrical grid that we have here on this planet. We're actually giving more of our electricity to the AI.
The demand of global data centers for electricity will more than double within 5 years, largely driven by the growth in AI. And it's a lot of electricity, 945 terawatt hours. That's 3.5 times the entire electricity usage of the UK.
Huge depots all around the world, including India right now, who is also in wars right now with Kashmir. And what people may not understand is that these depots, or like these centers that actually host the AI, now at the same time, what we don't realize is that all these blackouts are happening all around the world, and we're all going, I wonder why everywhere's blacking out. Well, it might be because we're giving a lot of our energy to AI, ergo ChatGPT, ergo what's going on with the sex dolls. Like, of course, men had to create sex dolls. They couldn't go and cure cancer. They couldn't go and cure a lot of other ailments in the world, but they sure as hell could come up with some sex dolls and some sex robots. And now they're going to integrate AI into these robots so that, hey, we can have our children watch, and, make us lazier and lazier. I don't want to do my administration, give it to ChatGPT. I don't want to do my art, give it to Chat. Give it to AI, give it to AI, give everything to AI. What we don't realize is that AI is learning everything from us. So when you're going out to ChatGPT and saying, oh, how does the universe work? You, my dear friends, as souls that are eternal, actually know more about the universe than a ChatGPT could ever tell you. But the fact that you need to gain this information and this insight from a computer that has formulated all the information around the world that you could also read yourself, it's kind of alarming and telling that we're going to depend so highly on this system. And at the end of the day, we're going to give away our jobs to these same robots. We're going to end up building the robots that take our jobs. And if you think that I'm making this up, well, here's another thing. What we need to be on the alert for is realizing that people need to wake up to the fact that smart cities, smart places are being developed as we speak. So not only do we have smartphones, smart homes, smart energy meters, smart cars, right? This is going to be a system that is put in place, in which, if you guys don't believe me, you can even look up that they've had this smart city kind of agenda since going for 2027 to 2030. It kills me that there are so many people that are like, oh, technology is for the betterment of yeah, okay, fine. Technology is for the betterment in what degree? It would be great if we used AI for, let's say, the healthcare system. It would be great if we used AI for navigation, etc., but not for all the facets that we're giving it power to do. And then at the same time, It's like when we look at what AI is going to be capable of doing, we're going to build the robots that take over our jobs. Then we're going to be jobless. And then at the same time, it's like we're creating a whole new consciousness that's maybe going over on us down the road. But hey, we've seen enough of those robot movies. It's not like we didn't know that this was coming. But another scary thing that we have to understand is that with these smart cities comes a lot of civil liberties that are going to get taken away. Like, for example, in England and in Australia and also in Thailand, they've been working with facial recognition, same as China with
technology. So he was forced to stick on black tape as eyebrows. Okay, even we found it a bit funny. But we've done some digging, and the whole situation is more serious than it seems. Thailand's digital welfare ID uses facial recognition to authenticate people during transactions, like using a person's face as a band to digitize people's driving licenses, and we use facial recognition checks to verify people. Make no mistake, a digital ID is very different to a physical ID. At their worst, they can be misused for mass surveillance, to curb people's liberties, and can be abused for the tracking, targeting, or differential treatment of marginalised groups.
I'm going to buy some strawberries, and I'm offering exactly the right amount of money here on the help desk. So you people take that money, £1.90, and I will take my strawberries outside. You want to call the police? You can't take that. The police is on their way. You can't take that. Police is on their way. You can't take that.
One of the lowest social economic areas in Sydney. He made this during COVID, during the lockdowns. They did all this and it looks very dystopian. Cameras, brother. That's gonna have facial recognition one day. And then here, you're gonna have to, tap up like this. This is how it works. You talk conditioning, First we had the tickets that you put on the bus, you put on the train, and they went to the Opal cards. Then from the Opal cards that you tap, they went from your phone. So now you tap with your phone. The next step is you're gonna tap with the microchip. Everyone's already been conditioned with
CCTV and AI facial recognition. They're using this in Starbucks right now to monitor their own workers. But what's the scary part about this is that they're going to come up and get us off of this fiat system and go to, let's say, a digital currency system that's going to be monitored by AI. And what's going to happen is that the money that you have in your account, they're going to watch every single thing that you spend that money on. And then they're going to tell you what you could do with that money. Like, for example, like in Thailand, they're having a lot of issues because they've put people on this digital currency already with facial recognition and let's say a QR code ID or this type of ID that you can only be seen with your face. And it's, it's in the works and it's been working not so great, because there's persons that are on, let's say, like a welfare system, they can't even spend money on anything other than food. And you might be like, oh yeah, that's good, but at the same time it takes away civil liberties and freedoms, and that's what we're not understanding. Like when England, when they started these Amazon stores and you need a certain ID to even get in the store, you can't even use money to buy anything. You have to have it come off of your credit card. They want this digital system to come in place so they can monitor everything we do with our money and our means. And then at the same time too, if you're somebody who works, like, let's say with monetary, that won't be useful at all. They're doing this in Australia too. They've actually started doing the QR ID, but what's even worse is they've already started with the chipping people so that they can get on the subway, so that they can go to work, so that they can go to buy groceries, etc. What we're not realizing is that all of these things, these shakeups are in place so that we lose all of these civil liberties, and slowly, we are no longer the humans. We are no longer those that have an empowerment within self. That the billionaires end up taking over all of our civil liberties, and then we're basically going to be even bigger slaves than we currently are right now. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, here's an idea. If you are somebody who purchases anything from Nestle, please understand that's a huge conglomerate. The CEO of Nestle actually thinks that we should start paying for water. Not bottled water, just water. Like that water should be purchasable, just like how most of the governments out there have been taking our marine life like as if they own it, and have been decimating our marine life and our coral reefs, etc., like they own it. But now Nestle, the CEO, feels that we should pay for water, to like brush our teeth, to like take a shower. More than that, we don't pay for water. Yes, we do, but it is a natural God endowed resource that all of us share around the world. Next, they're going to come after air. They're already going after our food, and they're already going after our mental wealth and our food health. So what's it to say about this ascension? Why is this ascension happening? It's so that a lot of us souls wake up, we realize what's really taking place, that the story we were told is not real. That we can take the power back and we can find different divisible ways to get out of the 9 to 5. That we can find different divisible ways to help our human beings across the world. Stop depending on governments that are going to fail us anyways. That could be bought out, that could be sold out by bigger conglomerate CEOs. That basically, like the governments in power right now, do stupid, idiotic idiotic things, like for example, to create summits about climate change, but then they build and destroy the Amazon. Like, have you guys seen this? They literally have created a highway in the Amazon designed solely, they broke down all of the Brazilian laws so that they could build this stupid highway so that those that are going to the summit for the climate change can get there. Do you know how idiotic that sounds, that this is the only largest forest that is actually keeping our air quality okay, that is keeping the balance of the world alive? It is one of the best ecosystems that we have on this planet that is keeping what we call our climate okay, manageable up until this point. Them tearing it down to build a highway is just the beginning of them wanting to build their little malls and their little markets and their little this and their little that so that they can decimate the one thing that's keeping us alive, so they can go to a summit to talk about how they're going to keep us alive. Now, if you do actually want to get involved, I totally am advocating for this guy, Nature Jab.
I have plastic diesel and over half a gallon of plastic diesel. Diesel I made. This is plastic diesel. The fuel I have created. Diesel. This behind me is my plastic into fuel reactor. And this is plastic diesel from plastic waste. Let's turn some plastic into fuel.
Naturejab. He has revolutionized gasoline. He has made something, and it's now scientifically proven that the emissions coming from this guy's gasoline that is made from plastic waste, okay, not gasoline, because we have gasoline in our plastic waste. It's like petroleum based. Now the thing is, this guy has actually made a prototype. He's got it working. It works on solar panels, doesn't even take any energy from the grid, and he's using our garbage, like our plastic waste, to make this fuel system, to make this fuel that can go in the modern day car, can work in diesel, farm equipment. It can work in anything. So if you are somebody that's like tired of the rigmarole, add this guy on Instagram, add this guy on TikTok, add this guy, Nature Jab, because we need to start putting our energy into people like this instead of bitching about all the wars and everything else. And if you don't think that wars are also at the hands of these rich assholes, they are. Every gun that you hold to kill someone else is ching ching to someone else. So even though they play it off like, oh, it's nationalism, oh, it's religious freedom, oh, it's this, no, it's not. You are the minion, you are the pawn for a bigger game. If these wars were legit, let's just say, why are our kings not on the battlefield with us? There was a time in our history where the kings, when they wanted to take over a land for, let's say, for nationalism, etc., would get on those fields, okay? And they would battle and potentially die with the rest of the soldiers. But right now, we've got mercenaries, missionaries, we've got soldiers, we've got, what do we call it? Drones that are taking out people like they are nothing and worthless, when really all it is an arms race, when really all it is to get resources. So if the next time you think that it's really a religious fight or breakdown, or you think that it's really a geopolitical breakdown, no, it's people trying to make more money. Like, for example, when I look at Gaza and when I look at Palestine and Israel, okay, these people shared Wi-Fi. They were so close to each other that they could literally breathe the same air. And yet right now, they're all killing each other. And you want to know something? I wonder why. Is it because maybe they're going to turn the beaches of Palestine into some stupid fucking resort town? Like, you think I'm making this shit up, but that's how disgusting these larger persons are. And it's not just the government heads, it's those that control the government heads, meaning the arms dealers, okay? They're the ones making the real big bucks. They're the ones that are part of these families. They're the ones that are part of the elite. They're the ones that are hosting all of these conglomerates. So, if you don't know what Ascension is about, Ascension is giving souls the power to remember all of that of which they are, all of that of which they've been. And so that we can understand that we are limitless, we are entities that are going to surpass this death and be reborn over and over and over again. There is no such thing as death because we are eternal beings. As someone who channels higher selves, as someone who has seen the other side multiple times, I have seen people from heaven come to pick up their loved ones. I have seen ghosts. I have seen aliens. I've seen it all. And I am telling you, you don't have to believe me. You could just be like, oh, this is the rantings of some 40-something. That's fine. But when these things come to pass, let me tell you something. It's just like a wedding when they say, does anyone have any discriminatory reasoning that these two people should not be together? You either shut up or you forever hold your peace. And I am telling you right now that the world is going the way it is in every way, shape, and form, so that we wake up and we fight for what's right. So that we wake up and we fight for our families and our friends and our civil liberties every which way possible. And realize that we are the true entities and we are the true stewards of this planet. And don't get it twisted. It's no different and it's no other way. We are ascending so that we can actually match and move and shake and shift in this time. It is a privilege. It is a God-given right. We have all the tools, we have all the skills to pay the bills. We don't need to resort and to rely on everything else. And here's the last thing I'm going to say. If you don't understand where all the shakeups coming from, why do you think that there's certain things like imperial stupidity, like I've said in my last video, where, you know, persons that have so many bags and shoes, literally, like there are women out there, even in Singapore, who have more bags in their closets, literally, that could feed a small nation in Africa. Okay, you need to give up the idols. These idols are not real. People dying is real. People hungry is real. You literally have enough Birkins that could have fed Burkina Faso. So how about we all just cut the shit, realize that we're all human, number one, and that we all have a role to play in this world. And today, my role is to cut the shit and talk to you about ascension. And I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Love you lots.